right, what we're looking at here is two sets of control arms for an A-body. And we'll start with what would be considered the older design first, and that's the 67 through 72. All right, it is based off of this pattern, and I have like did this ad lib. I've made it, however you call it. I have fabricated off of sight and looking at things. Okay, we'll get into that shortly, but it manifests these type of sway bar tabs. They're way out, basically underneath the strut rod, okay, near the ball joint. And they stretch way out here because those 67 through 72 sway bars, they was much wider, had longer arms on them. And this is just for demonstration purposes, but I have them where they're just mocked in place. We're making this for a friend that's going to come by here in a bit, one of our viewers. And he needs them for his demons, so I went ahead and made them. But they're roughly based off the same pattern as what we're focusing on this video, which would be the 73 through 76. Now that would be these right here. This is an absolute factory one. This was put on by the factory. It's got the weld on this side, weld on this side, and it's got a weld on the top right here, okay? That's factory stuff. Now I duplicated this by making a template. I wrapped some paper around it and very carefully made an outline of everything, and then tried to take heat of where the bends were and things like that. And that is what brought us to this one. We built this one out of some 14 gauge steel. I've been doing this type of thing for years. Works great as long as you keep your strut rod where it's not interfering with it. It has a specific place to go. Right here there's a little ramp that drops down. It sets about 1/4 of an inch off the bottom of that, and then you're about the same distance off of this rivet right here, okay? And then it will obviously weld up here as the flap sets underneath this little shelf, okay? So that's what we've got there. And somewhere here, yeah, here is our template for that one, and we'll discuss this template, but this will kind of cover this area right here. It's like the tabs are the same for the E body, the later B body, and the late A body, okay? And there's some differences between this one and the 67 through 72 A body. Now this one might also apply to some of the earlier B body, but I can't tell you that right now. There's a few differences in the way that this has been cut. It's a little narrower through here and a little narrower through here, and it actually bends a little narrower too because it's thinner here to here than it is from there to there, okay? But when you get this one here, you'll have to weld it into place, and that flap doesn't set on the shelf like it probably would there. It actually sets out here, and then you weld it there. And then you can't weld into the rivet, so you'll want to weld on this side, and then you can maybe double weld it here for strength. But that's your basic differences, and we're going to get into showing you some of the measurements on these. They're actually not too hard to make. It just takes a little bit of time, and the hardest part is just making some of the bend in here, which is also the same bend here. They're almost equivalent. They have very similar attributes. This one happens to have the little kick around the rivet so that it clears the strut rod here as well. You want to make sure that it's not in the way of that, okay? So that's what we got. Let's get into that.
Now is a great time to like and subscribe to the Hoosier Garage.
So from the side of this rivet to the side of the bracket here, I've got 1/2 inch off of the other one, the one that's factory, but on the opposite side of the car. And we want to make sure that we're parallel with this upright and this little seam, this little crease in the control arm. So we want to tack it right there. And we'll put our gloves on, make sure it's all in place. It likes to kind of scoot around as it sits. Now if I'm only doing it factory, I'm doing it this side, which is the insides, and then on top. But I might just reinforce it by adding some down the sides that didn't get it, and maybe even a little bit on the bottom. I will do the top one also. Okay, so right now we're under our 71 Plymouth Satellite. It's a B body. We've been working on an A body, but realize that these tabs are the same in this regard. The 69 through about 72 B body, that's what this car will qualify under. And like I said, the 73 through 76 A body. These tabs are interchangeable, okay? So you see the control arm looks about the same. I'm sure there's some difference between this and an A body. There's probably a little bit of a, sometimes the B body ones are a little shorter. So just keep that in mind. But we still have a lot of the same aesthetics. We have this little ridge and we have the rivet right here. And then here is our new tab. Now keep in mind that this car does not have an engine in it right now, so it's sprung up in the air. But if it had the engine in it and all the proper weight, this would be about level or parallel with the ground. And by the time that little bend in this thing is set into place, it would be about level too. So when your bar comes through this K-frame, comes up here, that's parallel. These little arms that come off the bar itself that reach over to the links, those need to be parallel, okay? That's where you get your optimal kind of situation on these cars, all right? Anything else, it's gonna give you a little trouble. It's gonna wanna bind some. It's not gonna work as good. So that's the way it is. So like I said, that'll go right in there. And when we get into this car, we're gonna weld these. I got both sides made. And we welded the one up that you saw. I just showed you how we bent it and all that stuff. And really the most difficult part is right in here. Getting that bend, getting it to kind of kick a little different direction. You notice they're not exactly at a 90 degree from the top. They have a little bit of a slant in. And then the other side's going to do the same thing. Now we showed you those templates. Let me talk about that real quick. So just remember on those templates, for example, this one being the 67 through 72, you're going to make two identical pieces, flat, okay? But when you go bending them, one will go this way, and then put that aside, and then take the other one and take note and bend it the other way, okay? And then really, like I said, the hardest part's going to be this part back in here, unless you have some kind of special small bender where you can get in there, or maybe even use a torch and heat it in a straight line and bend it. That way you get that little offset on one side, and it sets that way the opposite way. Both sides of the car will be set and you'll be good. And also keep in mind, if you're doing that earlier one like this one, the 67, 72, it is like technically upside down for the other one. So it's going to be setting on the other side of the arm. The lap, this part here, is going to mount towards the ground on that side of the control arm. And then wherever your rivet is, which in this case, see the black line there? That's where it needs to make that little kick so that it goes around the rivet. And again, I'm gonna stress this. Make sure that your strut rod is not interfering anywhere. It's not interfering with the bracket, first of all, but it's also not going to interfere with a link that's hanging down. If you got that problem, then something's a little off. You either need to check your measurements or check the positioning on the control arm. All right, so let's say you got all that situated, you got them welded on your arms, and you have a bar available that maybe you picked up from a junkyard or a swap meet. Make sure you have the brackets that go across here, though. That has the ones that you can get on here, and it holds the bar itself where it goes through the K-frame. You got one on that side, one on this side. You'll have to have those, and if you get an Adco bar or even some of the aftermarket ones like that, they will come with a kind of an adaptable set of blocks that go across here, and then they have the holes drilled for those the rubber isolator brackets, okay? If you're doing the old 67 through 72 models, see these holes here? Somewhere in here they have a bracket that mounts out here. I think it actually might even mount to these old holes, okay? And it sets across there. The bar comes through and goes over to the control arms. So you'll have to have those smaller brackets, and then they go through and they're just kind of a different animal. But if you check out Google, look at the pictures, you'll see a lot of the differences between the years. Just try to study up on that.
Thank you for watching the Hoosier Garage. Please be sure to like and subscribe for more restoration, tips, and fun.